Yeah, that was a lot of material. Again, it reminded me of the good old days of meeting at the Energize CT Center where everybody sort of just shared stuff they were doing. So in that spirit, I think that was a lot of information. We'll make sure, as Bernie pointed out, that all of those tools, I know there were some questions in the chat, where are they? How do I get them? Can I download them? We'll make sure that all of those are, it's clear where you can find those. If you need them in the meantime, reach out to us, but we'll make sure you have a complete list of where you can get them all. I think, officially we've gone through the agenda, but this is the part of the Kinetic Energy Network meetings where we would linger over a meal or just linger over the water cooler. So if you need to sign off, feel free to do that. But let's open up the floor if anyone had any questions, discussion of what we've covered here, or of things that you're doing that you'd like to share with the group. The floor is yours. Liam.
Mark, I was going to mention one thing for kind of everyone in this group. If you know any students at UConn, I'm the founder and head the Clean Energy Society at UConn, and Dr. Bayugan, who's also in this chat, is our advisor. So if you know anyone at UConn who's interested in clean energy, any of these topics, reach out to me. We'd love to have them in the group.
Liam, can I ask you too to describe your under 30 work?
Sure. Well, we're going to be interviewing people, adults under 30 mostly, who are involved in the clean energy sphere. Anyone who's had to do with advocacy, legislative advocacy, just getting things done in this field. And it's pretty broad. So if you have recommendations, also anyone in the chat, anyone has recommendations for people that you'd like us to talk with, also reach out to me, and I'll put my email in the chat one more time.
And Liam, it's early on in the session, Kenny Foscue remarked on, we don't have a lot of diversity in the network. And actually that's on multiple scales. We don't have that diversity. Age, we tend to be on the older side. Often my hair color is sort of the normative hair color for those of you who don't dye your hair. And I think this was an overt effort on our part to engage the other generations. So I think right now, not to oversell what you're doing, hopefully we'll get more under 30s, but we could also broaden that outreach out to other communities that aren't really represented here today. So that's one example of trying to respond to what Kenny, the challenge he threw down early on.
Certainly.
No pressure, Liam.
It's all on you.
All on you, man.
We'll recruit some students from our class, Liam, this semester. We'll work on it.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that too, Dr. Bayugan.
Well, it will be nice. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it will be nice to regather. I guess the Energize CT Center is not there anymore, right? But in Middletown or somewhere, it will be nice to regather in person. It's great that Zoom has allowed us to continue the work.
No, Eversource stole it from North Haven, the Energy Center.
Is it somewhere else or gone?
I think it's gone. Somebody else might.
I think it's now supposed to be a mobile. So it's a truck or a van.
A bus. It's a bus.
It'll be hard to gather in, Bernie.
Yeah.
But
A bus
perhaps
that doesn't exist yet.
it's, at least in West Hartford, it's become very popular to have like gastro parks that are made up of trucks, food trucks and what have you. So maybe we can have an energy truck or something. We can find out
We
where.
should have one of our meetings in an electric school bus and just drive around and let everybody know.
There you
That
go.
Partridge Family.
Like a Partridge Family.
I'm impressed that you know who they are, Lynn.
Yeah, good one.
Maybe we could have an outdoor meeting at one of those gastro parks.
Yeah, we could have the bus come to a gastro park.
You should ask Eversource and UI if they're making this an electric bus.
No,
They're not.
I'll bet you a box of
I'll bet
donuts
you-
they're not.
I know. I think we should ask them to go back to the drawing board.
All right, I'm going to do something. Deb was, I think, too bashful, and we were a little behind schedule before
We're over
to
time,
show
over time.
any video. But since we're in that open forum, in case anybody missed it, I want to share with you one of the many videos that Deb has done, and this is, I think, Bernie's and my personal favorite. This was the Halloween creepy basement
Oh,
video. that
yes,
Deb-
yes, yes.
So I don't want anybody to miss it.
Come closer.
It's Ludmilla from Pace. Who were you expecting, darling? It's my favorite time of year, Halloween. So what better time to tour my creepy basement and discover what's lurking below? Cobweb corners, lifelike puppets. Oh, what's that? Don't show them that. Just a little project I'm working on. You want to know what the scariest thing in a basement is? The uninsulated crawl space. Home to moisture and rodents. Maybe some people like that kind of thing. But if you're not one of them, then call your friendly neighborhood Ghostbuster like I did and get it foam sealed. Be sure to ask for the low greenhouse gas emission type. We don't want to create any other problems. Now do we?
Thanks for that, Mark.
Love it. Love it.
You can have fun with energy.
Right? Yeah.
Cool. Left out the monster in the basement of the old refrigerator, but next time.
Oh,
Oh, I don't have one of those. Yeah, but.
No, the
But-
old beer one, beer holder.
But
Mark, I have a question.
please.
Hi, this is Carol Savory. Pace, I know, is here in Connecticut, and I was wondering if there is any connection or how outreach to other states might be happening to not only grow us here in Connecticut, but to grow beyond our borders.
That's a great question. Our Pace's history has been a Connecticut-based nonprofit, and we have had a few forays into other states. We have through Judy Friedman, who ran Pace for a long time. Her daughter lives in Vermont, so we've worked with Kim Friedman in Vermont a little bit. We are in touch with Melissa Everett, who, as Patrice mentioned, was really foundational to the Connecticut Energy Network, and she's over the border into New York. So and then Bernie and I occasionally have done a national webinar type thing, but it's been pretty much ad hoc. So the idea we have entertained the idea of sort of taking this model of working through with towns, the handbook, with some adaptation could be used in other places. There's a lot of Connecticut resources in there, but so I don't know if we're ready to take over the country, but we're certainly, if anyone has any contacts in other states who would like to work with us, we're very open to do that. But I'm not sure when we'll actually try to expand or reach out very actively. I don't know if that'll happen at all. But
one area where we do a little bit of socializing between states is Heat Smart, and I mean a little bit, sort of in the same vein as Mark. We're familiar with the Heat Smart Alliance in Massachusetts. And in the process, we're now working Heat Smart Bethel, which is right on the border with New York. And so one of the contractors, which is Dandelion Energy, participates in New York programs. And so we're trying to learn from other states. But as Mark said, that's, sort of accidental and incidental. And we're not quite ready to take over the world yet.
Kate,
Yeah, hi. Thank you all for this wonderful presentation. Before we take over the world, maybe we should work on other parts of Connecticut that don't have clean energy task force. And that's something we've been talking about for years and years. It's like, how do we bring these other towns in? Out here in the quiet corner, there's very, very few task forces. And one, I've been doing work in Killingly, and now that we've successfully defeated the plant, we have been working on trying to do energy efficiency workshops and such there. But it's hard to get a handle on it without, as you know, town government and lots of resources. So and it's, we have our own task force and much work that we're doing. So to jump into another town as an individual is difficult. So I don't know. I'm interested in sort of brainstorming with people or working with people to develop maybe not even task forces or committees, maybe just start the work in other communities or regionalize them. I'm from a very small town. We've done a lot. Surrounding towns, except for Pomfret, are not doing anything. I mean, there's some solar going up, but I just think that the last count I had, it was 85 communities had clean energy task force. I don't know what it's up to or down to nowadays, but
We're going to find that out, hopefully. Okay.
Yeah,
But
think-
I spoke to Sustainable CT a couple days ago. On their website, are posted the names and contact information of the designated primary contact for Sustainable CT work. But as Jessica Leclerc pointed out, sometimes the primary contact is an elected official, and after an election, that person is no longer eligible, or their contact information is obsolete. And so I was thinking maybe we could request a meeting with the Sustainable CT people to ask if in certain cases they would share the names of people who are on the Sustainable CT teams, maybe have that person be asked, would you speak with PACE and the CT Energy Network folks about an energy only plan. So, Sabina and maybe Ted would be able to help us with that. I didn't feel, like it was appropriate for me to ask.
Yeah, I think that sounds great, but I'm looking for like real hands-on support. We, work within a town, because we have a lot of contacts in a lot of towns. We know who's doing the work. They just haven't, don't have whatever it takes to make a committee and move forward. And until we have the whole state, I think it's hard to be effective.
Yep, agreed. I think as Bernie said before, a big part of this collection exercise is find out where we are not present yet. And but let's continue that conversation. Maybe it's through the COGS, maybe it's as you said, some form of regionalization or reaching out to towns to start to plant seeds. But let's do that before we try to take over the world. And Jean, I know you had your hand up informally, so let's let you go next.
Thank you. I kind of had it. Yes, Kate, I think you're absolutely right. And the key is the regionalization, because they have a Sustainable CT task force. And what I'm finding, and we have both, is that the sustainable one constantly wants to do with, and I say, well, the Energy Commission will be working on that too. So we don't want to duplicate and make people work twice as hard, but we sure want to incorporate everybody from both committees. But now they're going to a meeting and we're going to a different meeting. Nobody wants to go to another meeting. So it gets a little convoluted. We need the Sustainable CT task forces that exist in all these towns to know that this is here to help them, that what PACE and the Clean Water Action, where we are, Connecticut Energy and all that stuff, we are the resource that is here in their community to help. And that's, I think maybe we just have to go to the first meeting, the next meeting of a sustainable task force in wherever, Lebanon, and say, we know you're trying. Here's what's here to help. It doesn't have to be a separate committee because those people are interested in this topic.
I think that's a great point, because a lot more towns have sustain or are registered in sustainable CT, so have teams working on sustainability, including clean energy. So I think it's a great. We don't need to form new groups, but let's work through them and make ourselves available to them. Great point. I think Michael was next.
I don't know if anybody knows, but I increasingly suffer from attention deficit disorder, ADD, and I just want to emphasize my praise for this presentation and the topics you covered. And I wonder if, I'm getting a message that I'm unstable. Okay, tell me something that I don't know. Would you be able to take a minute and just summarize your presentation? There were so many good points. I'm not going to get the Clean Energy Task Force to watch the recording of this thing, but I really want to point out some of the very powerful things you've suggested. I wrote down a handbook, social media, the information form that you're looking for, and then COGS. But I may have missed some things too, and I wonder if you could just help us all just to seal it in our memory a little better. Some of the great suggestions you've made today.
That's a really good suggestion, Michael.
Anybody hear what I just said?
Yeah, no. I think we got that, Mike.
Am I being heard?
Some of us like to go the day after a football game or something and watch the highlights. So, Deb, I think we have a challenge to create a highlights video, maybe a 2-minute max video that summarizes the main points of this event. Because a lot of information. With links and things, that would be a cool resource.
It's a great idea.
5 minutes, Gene, you think? All right.
Big tunes.
Yeah. Thank you for responding in that way.
Kenny.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to respond to Kate and say that I'd be willing to, think about how we reach out to places that don't have a task force, or maybe have 1 or 2 people. In North Haven, we're not like West Hartford or some of the large cities. We're fairly conservative town, and I think we might be helpful in trying to do that. The other thing I was going to mention is also to support the whole idea of COGS, and a specific question: is there a leadership meeting group of the COGS that we could present to, or somebody could talk to about how important our work is?
Yes, there is.
Pardon?
The executive directors meet periodically, the 9 executive directors, and I was told that it would be appropriate for us to request some time on that meeting's agenda.
That'd be great. The third point I wanted to make is, a couple of years ago, we sent a letter from pretty much all the task forces and a bunch of other folks to the powers that be about some things. And we were successful apparently in getting the utilities to put money forth. But the other thing was getting the leadership of Connecticut to do outreach to the towns. I'm talking about the governor or DEEP or, the legislative committee, to really encourage the towns to make sure they had a team and support it.
Great. Thanks. Kate.
Yeah, I haven't participate in the many COG meetings, both as a first selectman and a presenter of different programs. I think the most essential thing you can do is to make sure that you have a couple of advocates from towns on that committee before you present. Because it's really easy to listen to a presentation unless you have somebody sitting in the meeting who will be, yes, this is a great idea. I would like to work on this. What, it's absolutely essential because COGs get so many presentations and honestly, the amount of work that they try to do is way more than they can do. So I think that make sure that you have people from the towns within the COGs advocating with you.
I see Jean, yeah.
I would just absolutely agree with Kate on that. And also suggest that you really need to have a proposal that has concrete steps that they can say on the spot, yes, let's do that, and then direct their staff person to do what you've asked to do.
Yeah. Jean, an example of that would be every town should have a clean energy plan, and that's quite doable. So there's a concrete step to take.
Oh, I want one of those. How do you do that? I'll be in touch, Bernie.
Yeah, Michael's got one in Middletown. We've got some templates on the PACE website, so we can definitely help.
All right. Thank
You know, only one of the COGs, excuse me for butting in, only one of the COGs has an energy consultant, and it's the Southern Connecticut Regional Council of Governments. Pam Roach is a paid consultant to that COG. And so she's kind of the eyes and ears for the member municipalities on things like this. And she often attends these info sessions of ours. I just wondered, like why it is that only one of the 9 COGs has an energy staffer. Why is that?
And, Patrice, real quick on that point, that whole COG is signed on to a climate crisis resolution. Everybody, that speaks to the power of that organization. Sorry, Kate, I butted in.
No, I mean, COGs are funded to do certain specific projects that the state gives them money for. So that's why they don't have an energy director. We tried in the Wyndham COG when I was on it to do that, and there's no money. So, it's that same dead end again. It's not that everyone's not interested. COGs are limited by our government.
I'm gonna butt here with a quick tangent. I realized I'm a little disappointed that nobody from our Clean Energy Task Force comes to these meetings. And I was thinking that if anybody would be here, it would have been Jen Kleindienst, the former chair of our task force. But the news is that she had her baby yesterday, a healthy baby girl, and that's why she's not here. So I just want to let everybody know that Jen is a happy mom with a new baby.
Wonderful.
That's great.
Thanks for sharing that news, Michael. We'll give her a pass on this event. I've been reminded that this group might be able to help with another thing that, oh, beautiful. Elizabeth Rosalie Chamberlain, Ellie. Nice, nice. So I've been reminded that this group might be able to help with something else PACE is doing. We have formed a coalition to try to advocate for lifting the caps on commercial solar. And so the question to this group would be, are you aware in your towns, did your municipality ever get locked out of doing a solar project because the caps got hit? So where you might have wanted to put solar on a building or maybe even a company in your town, tried to put solar, but because the cap had been reached, they were locked out. If you know of anybody who is in that situation, we'd love to talk to them because they'd be great sort of people to provide testimonials for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we estimate 2/3 of projects are boxed out because of those caps, and it could be commercial or industrial, it could be virtual net metering, but the caps are too low. Our solar is crawling when it can't stand because the caps are so low.
I would suggest you go to the contractors and ask that question. I know that we are the consultants. Wyndham asked for virtual net metering and have never been able to actually do it, but we have consultants supposedly looking for it. So they would have an idea of how much they've been blocked out of.
Yeah, thanks.
I was wondering, just a follow-up from Kate and Jean. The COGs have their own personalities, and each director, from what I'm hearing, has their own personality. And so what Patrice mentioned is terrific. We should, some of us who want to break into our respective COGs focus, and it's creating like not a battle plan, because we don't want to fight, but a strategy on how to get this topic on their agendas, and definitely finding member town leadership or those of us that have influence on member town leadership or their staff. Many towns send staff if the head of the CEO can't make it. But there are subcommittees of each COG. A lot of times the CEOs meet. If we can't get it for a general meeting, maybe we start at the CEO part and just get on the agenda. They can shift their, I've seen, even when in the old days, we had 15 South regional planning agencies back in the old days, and SWRPA, Southwestern Connecticut, was notorious for just doing transportation projects because the money came in. They never looked for money elsewhere. But then some of the leadership from different towns said, let's have an environmental committee. And before you knew it, they had some money for river watershed projects. I do know that FEMA money has been sifting through some of the COGs. So this shift can take place, but we have to plan it. Like many have said here, we have to strategize to make sure they can't use the excuse, because if they're not looking for funds, they're not going to do the work. So sometimes I think there are funds available. It's just that many COGs they just have been used to doing only certain topics. So we just have to give them some religion.
I see we're edging up to noon. So I just want to thank Patrice and Deb in particular for all the planning that went into this event. It is being recorded, and on that link where Deb showed you, go to the PACE website, CTEN. You'll see all the presentations and the recordings and the chat as well. So, and there'll be an email, I'm sure, with all that. So it's been great. As I said, this feels more like an old meeting where we're gathering, just kind of exchanging ideas. So your group therapy session is now officially over. And look for the next group therapy to come. We're always open to new topics. We've got a couple in the pipeline, but always happy to know what you would like to be learning and talking about. So thanks, everybody. Stay